All right, macroeconomics students, let's start with Module 1, which is called the study of economics. So we're going to just kind of get into what economics means, because you don't really know that yet, and that's fine. All right, so here we have our definition. Economics is the study of scarcity and choice. So let's go over what those two words mean. So scarce means there's not enough of something to satisfy all of society's wants for it. Now, in economics, we know that everything is scarce. Like there's not enough of anybody to enough of anything for everybody to satisfy all of their wants. Now, the key word here is wants. Economics kind of operates on this assumption that our wants are infinite, they're never ending. Meaning that if I wrote down a list of everything that I wanted, the list would never end. And we'll never get everything we want. Okay, that's different than the word need. All right, so this idea that everything is scarce, which leads to scarcity, the condition that there are not enough resources to satisfy all of our wants and needs. Out in the world outside of economics, we use those words a little bit differently. People will say, oh my gosh, back in March, toilet paper was scarce, meaning that we didn't have as much of it as we're used to having. It was hard to find. Now, in economics, we would call that term, what happened with the toilet paper, a shortage, meaning that there was less than there usually is. In economics, scarcity is different. Scarcity, everything is scarce. Everything, except perhaps air, but even clean air is becoming scarce. So that is why we have an economy. So the next thing in our notes here, it says, because of scarcity, we must make choices. And because we must make choices, because we can't have everything we want and nobody can, we have what we call an economy. Now that is not in your notes right now, so we're going to add that in here. Economy. And your book describes economy as a system that coordinates choices about production with choices about consumption and distribution, and distributes goods and services to the people who want them. So what does that actually mean? An economy is a system that determines what gets made and who gets that stuff. Okay. English class, they'll tell you never use the word stuff. I kind of like it here in economics because, it just describes all of these things that we make, that we buy, that we use or consume. So I'm okay with the word stuff here in econ. But if you're writing an English paper, probably not. All right, so we have this economy, a system that determines what gets made. So those are companies that decide to make things. And who gets that stuff? Well, in our economy, we decide who gets that stuff based off of whoever can buy it and wants to buy it. All right, and if you can buy it, that means that you can afford it, that you have the money to buy it. And if you want to buy it, means that you would like to have whatever it is that they're buying. All right, so I need to erase this because it's on the whiteboard, but you're just writing that down, and then we're going to flip to page 2 of our notes. All right, so we're on Module 1, page 2. Here we go. So it says here, resources are scarce. Well, the definition of a resource is, so our resource definition, something that can be used, all right? So we often think of resources as money, but businesses will think of their, or the economy as a whole will think of resources as, materials, machinery, workers are also an important resource. In fact, let's get into that right now. We have 4 different kinds of economic resources. Most econ classes, they don't use the term economic resources. They use the term factors of production. So I want you to be aware that factors of production is a term out there that is used in the econ world. All right, so number one, land. Land doesn't just mean land. Land means natural resources. So our examples here would be oil, wood, water, metals, minerals, any of those natural resources, things that you can pull out of the ground, use the earth to get. Those are natural resources. Second one is labor. Labor means workers, okay? Labor means work, all right? They kind of also use it to mean giving birth, but labor means work because giving birth is a lot of work. All right, so your example, factory workers, anyone with a job is a member of the labor force, and so they would be considered labor. Most companies cannot operate without labor. They can't do it all on their own. They have to hire people. All right, and then there are two different kinds of capital. There is physical capital and human capital. And let me move this up a little bit, and then I'm going to have to erase the marks I made. Okay, so outside of econ, people often use the term capital to mean money. Inside of econ, we've got a little bit different definition. Physical capital, those are man-made things or people-made things, right, that businesses use to make their products. So a business needs stuff, right? Businesses buy things in order for them to run their business, okay? So example, my mom, she had a real estate business. Well, she had to buy computers, she had to buy desks, she had to buy pencils, she had to buy a copier, So lots of stuff. So any of that kind of stuff that businesses have to buy, that's their physical capital. And in like kind of the biggest examples of that would be the buildings, the factories, the big machinery, that's all physical capital. And then number 4, we have human capital. Those are skilled workers who have experience, training, education, and or knowledge. That's most people with a job, but especially their training or education. So if a business gives their employees training or education, that leads to, that's what this sign is, right? It's like an equals sign with a little arrow. That leads to an increase in human capital. An increase in human capital. So some of you, you're not familiar with my little arrow system yet. So you're going to write next to here, you're going to write like leads to an increase in human capital, right? It's because you're going to write more on your notes than I do. All right. Now, I also wrote down here entrepreneurship too. An entrepreneur is someone who starts a business. That is often considered one of these factors of production because, you can have a pile of natural resources and a bunch of people. But if you don't have somebody who kind of has the idea and the skills to put all of that together and organize it and turn it into a business that provides a service or creates a product, then you're not going to be able to make anything. So we add in entrepreneurship as well. All right, next page. Who makes economic choices? Meaning who is going to decide what are we going to make? How are we going to make it? Who's going to get the stuff? Well, individuals and businesses make those choices, and the government makes some of those choices, but mostly it's individuals and businesses. All right, next on to our concept here of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is one of the most important concepts in economics because, like we already said, economics is this study of choices. Well, every time you make a choice, you have to give up the choice that you did not make. And that's a real economist way of thinking. That's not like your average way of thinking. But if you think about it, it really, really makes sense. And if it is a really easy choice to make, that means you don't feel like you're giving up a lot. But if it's a really hard choice to make, that means you feel like you're giving up a lot in order to get what you want. All right, so let's go to our notes here. Because we must make choices, we must have opportunity costs. So the definition, what you give up when you make a choice. There's always an opportunity cost for every choice. Even if somebody's like, hey, let's go out to lunch. I'll buy it for you. I'll drive you there. You won't have to do anything but show up, right? We would call that a free lunch. But in economics, we're like, there's no such thing as a free lunch because you did have to give something up in order to get that free lunch. You had to give up your time. You had to give up the opportunity to maybe sit on the couch some more and watch TV, or maybe stare at the walls, or whatever. Even if it was something really boring, you had to give it up. So if you're like, done and done, I am going, easy choice, that means very low opportunity cost. Hard choice. A lot of you this year as seniors are going to be deciding what you're doing after high school, and you're like, should I go to this college or this college? And it's going to be a difficult choice because you can only go to like one, or at least one at a time, so you're giving up a lot in order to get something. And those are hard choices because if you decide that you are going to go to the University of Minnesota, that means that you're not going to go to Mankato, or you're not going to go out of state, or whatever your other choice is, which means that, you're giving up a lot, and that's a big opportunity cost. Here it says opportunity cost is only the second choice. It's not the third, it's not the fourth, etc., because you wouldn't have gotten those anyway. Here is my example. I went to Mankato for college. I had also applied to St. Thomas and St. Ben's, and I got accepted to all three. I could have gone to any one of those three colleges that I applied to. Now, my mom wanted me to apply to St. Ben's. I didn't really want to go to St. Ben's. It was definitely number 3 on that list. When I went to Mankato, I made that choice. I'm going to Mankato for college, and I did. I gave up the opportunity to go to St. Thomas. I did not give up the opportunity to go to St. Ben's, because if I didn't go to Mankato, I would have gone to St. Thomas. I wasn't going to go to St. Ben's either way. So when we often make choices, we think, oh my gosh, I did that and I gave up the opportunity for this and this and this and this. I could have done so many other things with my time, or done so many other things with my money. But really, in economics, we only focus on you gave up your second choice, not your third and your fourth or your fifth or your sixth, because you wouldn't have gotten those anyway when you have to make a choice between, when you can only make that one choice. It gets a little different when we're talking about like, okay, I'll do this for a little bit of time and then this and then this, when we try to like cram it all in there. But I'm just talking about that basic, simple concept of you can make one choice. What are you going to do? And whatever you gave up, that's your opportunity cost. Okay, one more page, and then we're done with Module 1. In economics, there is microeconomics and there is macroeconomics. This class is macroeconomics, my favorite one. But micro, the prefix micro means small, and the prefix macro means big. So micro, or small economics, it focuses on choices made by individual people and households and individual businesses, which they often call firms. So if you took microeconomics, you'd be learning about like, why did that business make that choice? But in macroeconomics, where we are, it studies the entire economy as a whole and the role of the government in the economy. So we're going to be studying like, what does the term unemployment rate mean? And why does the unemployment rate go up and down? How do they measure the entire economy? When somebody says the economy is so bad right now, what does that actually mean? And then when the government, or when somebody says the government needs to fix the economy, what does that mean? Like, how can the government make businesses hire more people? Or how can the government get more people more jobs? Or, like, what does the government even have to do with it anyway? So that's what we're going to learn about in this class, which, if you ask me, is like super exciting, and I hope that you guys like it too. Thank you.